Okay, we're booting up the PlayStation Classic for the very first time, and I've heard nothing but bad things about the system, especially considering it is an obvious and very blatant rush job to simply make it out before Christmas. Let's check out the game lineup here and see if we have any gems hidden in the midst. We have Battle Arena Toshinden. I love my fighting games. Cool Borders 2. Okay. Destruction Derby. Final Fantasy 7. Can't go wrong there. Grand Theft Auto. Intelligent Cube. Why not? Jumpin' Flash. Metal Gear Solid. Mr. Driller. Oddworld. Abe's Odyssey. Rayman. Resident Evil's Director's Cut. Persona Revelations. Ridge Racer Type 4. Puzzle Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Siphon Filter. Tekken 3. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Twisted Metal. And Wild Arms. A lot of people simply are not impressed with this lineup, so you know what? I'm gonna have to have the cat bump the keyboard. Be right back. Dude, can you please find it in the bottom of your cat heart to bump the friggin' keyboard and give me some cooler games than these less than stellar, quite lackluster games that came with the mini PlayStation Classic? Come on, dude, please bump the friggin' keyboard. You're killing me, man. Bump the keyboard. Could you please bump the keyboard so I could have some cooler games on my Sony PlayStation Classic? The games that come with it are simply less than stellar, quite lackluster. So the cat has finally bumped the keyboard. Let's see what we have here. We have our default games. I'm going to go through these real quick. And let's see what kind of taste the cat has. Oh, we have Namco Museum Volume 5. Alundra, great RPG action game. Einhander, Square Enix at its best, Shmup-wise. Elemental Gearboat, Road Rash. R-Type Delta, R-Types, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is a system seller. Why, Sony, did you not get this game on the system? Castlevania Chronicles, Silent Bomber, a great action-oriented Bomberman-influenced game. Silent Hill, there you go, dang games. Strider 2. Thunder Force 5 Perfect System, and last but not least, Toomba. I have to warn you from the forefront here that there are many inherent risks as far as modding your PlayStation Classic. I would not at all recommend you even attempting this right now until it is deemed safe. And I mean, as soon as it is safe, I will let you guys and gals know. I just don't want you to have a semi-bricked system where you try to boot it up and it doesn't power on. But let's do a little play testing right now. We'll load one of my favorite shmup games, Einhander, and let's see if this plays okay on here. The classic Sony logo. And yes, this was a rush job to pretty much get on the bandwagon of all their mini classic consoles, but I mean, not as bad as some of the AT game ones that I've seen in the past. And hopefully Sega is going to have a good system next year. But I'm very impressed with the modded aspect of this. I mean, people are not as impressed with the less modded system. I mean, right out of the box, vanilla style, it is okay. But once you mod this thing, it is actually pretty darn cool.
There was a time.
There was a time. Okay. What are we going to do? Walk your Texas Ranger intro or something? And one of the best mergers ever is the Square Enix merger. I'm talking like Soul Blazer combined with Final Fantasy, and we have this. This is awesome. And this feels like a Blade Runner shmup game. And you might have noticed by now that many people who were doing videos on YouTube of the PlayStation Classic being hacked are saying that you can only add one game for now. Well, guess what? You can add more than one game. You just have to know how. And I'm going to show you guys and gals how to do that. And secondly, I've also noticed that a lot of them have been loading up games and just being stuck on the demonstration mode with no controls whatsoever. And they're probably perplexed as to why these games aren't working. There are many different bugs and issues that we're looking into, and they will be resolved one by one. And there are a ton of amazing things that you can do on the system. I mean, even though it was a rush job, I knew in advance that the moment the system was modded, it'd be spectacular. And I have semi-bricked my system a few times already where I booted it up and I was unable to boot, but I was able to get out of it. But like I said, there are inherent risks, and do not take on these the the fun of trying to do your system unless you're prepared for an unbootable system for a few minutes to maybe an hour or two. But great game, and I absolutely love the soundtrack to this. We'll do a few more games throughout the course of this video, and I'll show you some of the things that you're going to be able to look forward to. And I have a big surprise. There's a limitation on the Mini NES and SNES that is not as much of a limitation here. We are going to be able to run GameCube and Wii games potentially on this system, because the OpenGL is a higher octane here. We were unable to do it on the Mini NES and SNES, but here I could very well see us running Castlevania Rebirth a Wii WAD at maybe 15 to 20 frames per second if everything pans out. But great game here. And we're going to exit back to the main menu in a moment here and try a few more games out. I'll be doing more videos, and if any of you really want to take on this challenge, you can let me know and I'll try to help you out. I mean, but I would highly recommend being patient. I'm going to push the reset button on the system now, and we'll try a few more games. Now I'm a little rusty on my shmup there. We'll try a few more games. What else do we have here? We have Alundra, the great action RPG. We'll try that for a moment. Now I'm really liking the disc swap button. This is going to really be able to be exploited in a very cool and nifty way. I could see it coming. But Alundra and Alundra 2 are two spectacular action RPGs, and like Enix before they merged with Squaresoft, they made some great games like Terranigma and Soul Blazer and so on. Oh great, we got these nice nifty animated sequences here. Very commonplace on CD based formats back then. Very awesome. Great introduction screen. This is definitely a great thing to have if you're in a store doing a demonstration mode and such. But again, there are a lot of games that do not yet have controls, and like I said, it'll be something that'll be rooted to the bottom of. And you're going to be able to do many different things on here. I mean, you're going to be able to do cheats, you'll be able to run different BIOS, and you're going to essentially be able to run pretty much everything the Mini Classics run, as well as extra stuff due to the better OpenGL nature here. And the hardware specs are a little bit better. I don't need to get into specifics, but they're minutely better to the point where we're going to be able to do more things. The kernel for it is exponentially larger, obviously. It is a little over 13 gigs, so if you're doing a kernel dump, you're going to be taking a few minutes on your computer to do it. But look at this awesomeness. Very happy here. Need to have my Alundra fix. Everything's looking nice. And you might have seen on some videos and such where emulator options were able to be accessed by having a proprietary keyboard, which is kind of an inside joke. You mean like this option right here that I just open up without using the keyboard? I'll get more into that in the future, but there are countless options you could do in that as well. Let's see what else we have here. We have this spectacular game, one of my favorites that I used to play on 3DO, Road Rash. And one of the best fit-in tributes to Chris Cornell. I mean, fantastic singer, Soundgarden solo artist, and he even did a lot of acoustic work, but this is by far one of the best 3DO and PlayStation 1 games that I've ever played. EA, before they kind of fell off the deep end and started doing microtransactions, and phenomenal soundtrack. I saw many of the bands in this game soundtrack live in concert back in the 1990s. And they made so many Road Rash games after this, but none of them even remotely compared to this one. This is just a masterpiece of them all. I will do Thrash mode here. And I love when you get leveled up and you're going like high octane really fast, and you can literally just fly hundreds upon hundreds of feet. And there's a very cool design thing in the game. If you pay attention to your backgrounds here, you'll notice that there's actually drawing objects that just pop in the background, but what people used to do back then, development-wise, is actually just have you go around corners and kind of mask the illusion of the pop-in and drawing and such. Of course, on Nintendo 64, all they did was just have fog right in your face, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. But great game, and they really need to bring Road Rash back. The only thing I really wish is that we could have a custom soundtrack kind of like I have with the arcade ones that I've displayed before, like Moonwalker, NBA Jam, Final Fight, Mortal Kombat, and such. But have it with the game, songs like Soundgarden and Therapy and all that within the context of the normal gameplay levels there. That'd be fantastic. And I played Road Rash Jailbreak, Road Rash 3D. I like them all, and I especially love the Sega Genesis ones. And when I got my EA collection on my PSP many years ago, I actually used to play the Genesis versions on there too. And another game that's a little bit like this that I'm going to have to test out was Extreme Games. And it was always fun when you run over the chickens. It actually did a little splat and kind of cranked me up. But obviously, some of the lineup of games on the PlayStation Classic, the games that didn't make the cut, I have a feeling is due to dynamic recompiler issues. Games such as Jedi Power Battles, Parasite Eve simply will not work. They crash due to dynamic recompiler. And if you disable demonic, yeah, might as well call it demonic, dynamic recompiler, the games are going to run far too slow to be even feasible to play. But here we go, we have Road Rash, fantastic game, and there's that classic crash mode thing going on there. And I always love the cops that try to capture you too. But yes, we need to have Soundgarden and Therapy and all these other fantastic bands while the normal game plays. And I'm a big fan of the other games like Need for Speed High Stakes as well. And another thing, like I said, you're going to be able to probably do is load custom BIOS. That'll definitely go a long way as far as getting Japanese games to run and such. But one of the other things I've done right away from the get-go is the dummy folder method that you classically see me doing on the Mini Classics. And of course you can watch many of my Mini Classic videos to see a lot of things that you're going to be able to do on the system in due time. I mean, pretty much anything and everything is going to be directly accessible on here once we all get it coded in. But let's see if I can try to get first place there. Need to upgrade my bike and such, and I love the combat. I'm gonna try another game here. I do love that you can push a reset button and have suspend states. I'm having a feeling that suspend states might be quite reliable on the system. Let's see what other games we have here. I might try the dummy folder method in a second. So I'm gonna load another game here. We'll load Elemental Gearboat. We'll try that for a moment. Then I'm gonna do the dummy folder method from within the context of this game here. Elemental Gearboat is a great on-rail shooter with a mystical, magical theme. We'll try this for a moment. And Working Designs is one of the best companies. I mean, it's the complete opposite of seeing the LGN logo. When you see Working Designs, you're 9 out of 10 times seeing a fantastic game. I cannot think of a single Working Designs game that is bad. Okay? But yes, I need my shmup fix here, obviously. Okay, let's try this out. And this was always a fan favorite game of myself because I love games like Sin and Punishment, which, of course, Treasure made. And this is a great, great game, very similar to Sin and Punishment. It plays very nicely here. And as far as some of the games that have more of a stubborn frame per second, I'll be able to tweak those and get those out just like you do with the Extreme RetroArcs and such. I'll do my custom tweaks for games and courts and such, just like I did on the Mini NES and SNES, and other formats and platforms as we get further into the classic game. And we'll see what transpires within the next year as far as the Genesis Classic. Another thing that I'd really like to see coming in the near future would obviously be, I would really, really love to see Sega Saturn running faster. And that has a dynamic recompiler conflict right now, as well as one of the other ones is not completely compatible yet, but right now I'm going to do the dummy. Okay, I'm going to go to the PCSX menu. Yes, it is an emulator, not the Pops one that was on the original PSP, which I would have absolutely loved to see here, because we would have probably had better compatibility. I'm doing the menu right now. I'm going to go to Load CD Image. And look, we can do cheats, all kinds of extra stuff. I mean, there are a ton of things you can do. I would be careful dabbling with these menus for right now because you can technically make your system tough to boot once you change the wrong option. But again, I'm going to get more attuned to this and show you guys and gals how to handle this. If any of you really want to take on the misery and masochism of modding the system and running into a few glitches and such here and there, I'll help you out. But let's load CD image. And right now I'm going to backtrack here. Okay, I'm going to my dummy folder right here in my games folder. Media. LOL hack, a nice play on the original PSP hack. Mad Monkey, you're funny. Games. And these are all the folders that the games are in right now. And then I also have a dummy folder. And we can play Barbie Explorer, Chipoki, Ralph, and No Day Book. And look, the e-boots actually work on here. And I'm going to do an e-boot right now. I'm going to do Raystorm, another shmup favorite of mine. And I've always been a big fan of this, and this game does not run it well at all on any of the arcade cores. There are quite a few games that, if you try to run them on the arcade cores, they're much better represented as far as the PlayStation 1 counterparts for speed and performance and such. And another great company here, Taito. Simply cannot go wrong with Taito. And I absolutely love the Panzer Dragon-esque style lock-on system here, as you will see in a moment. Arcade mode. And I'm going to be doing more shmups in my next main video as well. I have some nice nifty ones to show off. And again, don't fear the Reaper. I mean, it's going to be a little bit hard to completely, permanently brick your system, but you may run into a non-booted system for a moment or two. So, like I said, be very forewarned. Very pumping game here, and there are a few games in this series actually. Raystorm, Ray Crisis, and so on. And I love the lock-on system here. So for all of these that jumped on the bandwagon as far as saying this system is terrible, once it's modded, it is not even remotely terrible. There are so many things we can do, and being at the 16 gigabyte flash memory, if we're able to swap out some of the entries in the game lineup, we might be able to actually utilize that 16 gigabytes of memory. Not to mention, I'm actually modded with just a flash drive in my port 2 right now. I simply set it up, popped it in disk drive in the second controller port, and I was ready to go. I didn't have to use anything else, but there will be a tool in the near future to help you guys and gals get these games on there. And it'll be much safer in comparison to some of the ones that you're seeing people do on YouTube right now. Just be very wary of trying to do anything you see anybody else do, unless you fully trust their word that it is safe to do. I'm not going to push anything on you guys and gals unless I know you're going to be able to do it without any issues. Like I said, I probably booted the system up over 500 times now. And I've definitely had a few non-boots here and there, but I've been able to fix them each and every time. So be very careful. And I'll be right with you guys and gals the entire way and keep you updated on every aspect. Again, just be very careful. I do not want you to throw your $100 US away and have an absolute headache going to work knowing that your system is just not bootable for a few moments or two. And one of the biggest things that could cause your system to be permanently bricked would actually be the fact that there's a potential for files to be overwritten, which is what we do not want to happen. We want to be able to overmount the files so that the original files are completely safe and basically laying a blanket on top of the old files and using them from there in correlation-wise. But let's try another game here and see what else we have to go. PCSX menu, load CD image. There we go. Let's see. I have a great racing game here. I'm hoping it works on here. RC Pro-Am style game here. But loving that the dummy folder method that I coined for the mini classics works tremendously well here. And you do not have to go out of your way to get a crazy keyboard either. I find it funny that they actually used a couple of keyboards that people might not necessarily notice right away, and there we go. I mean, they could have easily picked the most expensive keyboards on the market, the fanciest, schmanciest ones with drivers that aren't as easy to locate, and people wouldn't have really caught on to this little exploit as fast. Here we go, we have another title-driven game here. Now I'm really hoping I have controls on this, because this is one of my favorite RC Pro-Am style games. RC to go. Okay, I got controls. I'm good to go here. And for the most part, any game that is worked on the Mini Classics will mostly work on here. We'll do a quick race. And I do love that as you play later into this game, you can actually unlock some really cool vehicles. I'm not going to really spoil them, though. I think I'd rather do on-road. Okay, we'll try a few more games with a dummy floater method. But yes, you'll be able to do cheats, bios, tweaks, all kinds of crazy stuff. But my favorite thing of all is going to be able to be getting Wii and GameCube games running on here. Cannot go wrong with that. I absolutely love this game. Incredibly awesome game. And as they've made games that are a little bit similar to RC Pro-Am, you notice how you have the kind of reverse controls, alternate controls, where you could be pushing left and right and you're going backwards. Some of the games that I've seen in more recent years that are similar to this actually have easy controls where you just point the analog in the direction you want to go and simply hold the acceleration button. I'm old school and I still love having the classic controls from the original RC Pro-Am. And speaking of RC Pro-Am, I actually spent countless upon countless hours attempting to beat that game. I'd always get to stage 32 and on, and I would never beat the game. That one speedy car would always take me out in the end, but I found out that, like Gauntlet 2 and many, many other games, the game simply keeps recycling levels and gets harder and harder. It never, ever ends. So I pretty much kept trying to beat RC Pro-Am, even though it is one of my beloved games. It is unbeatable. And I love RC Pro-Am 2 as well. This is a great game here. Let's do dummy floater method again. PC, SX menu, load CD image, and there we go. Got some more games here. Let's see what else we have to go by here. Maybe a Mega Boost might work. Another great shmup game, a 3D based shmup. And I'm loving that the e-boots work, and not only do the e-boots work, but I've actually done many classic videos pre-USB host where I'd actually rip the extra audio and videos out of the game so they could be a smaller size and fit within the context of the NAND internal flash memory, which was only roughly a little bit over 200 and 300 megabytes, respectively, on the SNES Classic and NES Classic. And it is what it is, but I used to rip the games so they would be much smaller. I got games like Castlevania, Dracula X on TurboGrafx CD down to only 8 megabytes. Okay, a Mega Boost is working. Very, very happy here. So we're having really good ratio of working games right now. And I'm definitely going to have to try to get into some of the games that had dynamic recompiler conflicts in the past and see if there's anything that can be done to get them working better on here. But great game here. And if you like games like Star Fox, you'll be right at home with this one. And for those of you a little bit disappointed that I didn't tell them about the hack being possible right now, I'm going to say one thing right now. I was aware of the hackability of it, but it was not supposed to be leaked on the YouTube and the general internet that quickly. It was not completely safe for public consumption. It was really meant for developers and people who are willing to take the risk. But a few people threw it on the YouTube, and it is what it is. I didn't want any of you guys and gals to run into problems where you just willy-nilly jump into the fray, kind of like Saving Private Ryan style, and have an unbootable system because you are ignorant to the possibility of semi-brick and such. I mean, any of you who have ever modded the original PSP will know exactly what a brick is like. I've done it a few times on that one, but later on it was much easier to unbrick. But yes, this game is running great. We're going to go into PCSX menu here. I'm actually going to attempt a Japanese game because I have a feeling I might have an issue with a Japanese game. There might need to be BIOS accounted for in this, but I'm going to try this great Gotcha Man the shooting game, and hopefully it works. And for those of you who grew up in the 70s and 80s, you might know about this cartoon. It was known as Battle of the Planets as well. Great cartoon. Very Voltron-esque. And there we go, the Bandai logo, another great company. And I'm hoping this one works with controls. Yeah, it's working right now. And it's Japanese, so remember, if you play a Japanese game and you keep pushing X and going back, it's because in the USA, you typically push the X to move forward, and you push the circle to move back. But in the Japanese games, you have to actually push circle to move forward and X to move back. So you might sit there for moments upon moments pushing the X button over and over again and basically being perplexed or confuddled. But it is what it is. They're just reversed. But here we go. Gotcha Man is actually working on the PlayStation Classic. And this is a nice gem of a game that I really wish would have been released in the United States. And by the way, one of the reasons I wasn't able to really promote this any sooner was because I worked 3 jobs, and I worked the entire weekend, and I was helping a few people unbrick their minis because they used to use the old Hashi 2.30, and I was helping them unbrick their systems. So it is a little bit more important to me to help people unbrick their systems than to promote something else like this for the moment. I mean, the number 1 priority is always to have people with working systems. Then we can move on to the fun modding game and such. But great working game here, and of course I'm still going to continue to put my updates out with the mini NES and SNES, but I'm also going to add into the mix, I'm going to add updates for the PlayStation Classic as well. Now I have little disclaimers saying which ones are safe and which ones aren't, because I don't want anybody messing up their systems, but I'll definitely take time out of my day to help you guys and gals unbrick your systems. And again, I'm doing this out of the bottom of my heart to share my love of emulation. I want all of you guys and gals to be able to enjoy the awesomeness of these mini classic systems. Okay? Maybe we'll try 1 or 2 more games, and then I'm going to close up shop here. And again, if you do attempt to do this mod, you will probably 99.5% have a likelihood of booting up your system and having an issue or 2. But there's one thing that you're going to be able to do that'll help you out of your issues. And I'm going to tell you it before I quit the video. One little tweak that you can do that I don't think anybody has showcased yet. And this is a little tweak that I've used on the mini classics as well to help things out. Okay, let's do, see if we can load any other games here. Load CD image, dummy folder method. Oh, we have the great Irem game in the hunt. And this game had better work because this is one of the best. I mean, the people who made this game went on to make, of course, Metal Slug. But Irem is one of my absolute favorite shmup companies, and I'm really hoping the start button works on this game. Like I said, I've had a little mixture of games that do and do not work, and this might be one of the ones that temporarily does not work and might need a little bit of working in to work. But we'll see what happens. And it's working! Man, I'm getting awesome today. And this is just simply awesome. I remember picking this up with Heart of Darkness on the original PlayStation 1, and I never looked back. Absolutely incredible games, and I'd have to say this along with probably the original R-Type are 2 of the absolute favorite shmups I've ever played, and of course games like Treasure Classics, Radiant Silver Gun, and of course Gradius 5, Sin and Punishment, and Ikaruga, all classically great shmups. And I'm going to be doing many more shmup games. Obviously, I did like a dozen shmup extravaganza videos over the last year, of which you can find on my YouTube channel. But I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm going to be mixing them up while I'm feeling so hard right now. But yes, we'll be able to play the arcade version of this on here in due time. Because yes, one of the very first things that I tried getting on the Mini SNES and NES was actually arcade games running. Because we all need to be able to run our Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. And by the way, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker and Sly Spy by Data East are 2 of the very first games that I ever played on the MAME emulator, command line wise, back in the 1990s. That's pretty much my primary foray into the emulation thing. And I'm feeling so hard here. But yes, I actually got a computer for the first time ever in the 1990s just so I could simply emulate on it. And I moved into becoming a computer IT tech after that point, and it all pretty much migrated and translated right into this type of stuff right here, modding and emulation. And I've modded pretty much every system that you can imagine, timing through, and some systems I modded, then I unmodded, such as the 3DS and my PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and so on. I unmodded them after I modded them initially. I just wanted to see if I could pull it off, but some systems I still have modded, such as my Nintendo DS, my PSP. I did mod my Vita, but then I unmodded it. Because a lot of these game systems, I like to own the real games if at all feasible to. And many of these companies, if they actually put these games as downloadable titles, and again, I'm feeling hard this, if they actually put the games as downloadable titles, I will go out of my way to actually buy them. But of course, when they have licensing issues, such as Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which I showcased in my last video, it's not as easy to get, but you can get it on PC at least. I mean, as long as it gets on PC, it is permanently etched into history as a game that you can eventually get as an abandonware game or such. I need my Turbo Fire activated. I'm going to say that's going to be one of the first things that we do, is get Turbo Fire mode activate and such. But incredible game, and maybe we'll try one more here, because I'm feeling so hard at this right now. And wait to see the game that I'm going to be showcasing in my next MAME demonstration video. I'm going to be playing one of the hardest shmups in all of history that has notorious reviews for being incredibly difficult, to the point that it is masochistic in nature, and you might even just simply throw your controller to the ground, or trash your system with a real brick in anger. But we'll do dummy photo method and see if we have any games running here. But again, In the Hunt, incredibly difficult game, very, very fun. And I actually did an entire playthrough of the game on the arcade emulator, and I beat it in about $4.25 of US dollars. Let's try one more. Oh, Hydro Thunder. Why not? So far, so good. I mean, there are a few games that I've tried that didn't have controls yet, but again, we'll work them in. And it could be BIOS related or driver issue related, but we'll figure it out. We're in the very, very beginning stages of the modded scene for the PlayStation Classic, but we're going to be able to correlate many of the things from the Mini Classics directly into this. And of course, a lot of things that we do on the RetroPie as well. Okay, this is working as well. Awesome. Arcade mode. I very, very much believe that the guy who did Hydro Thunder will... let's try this right now. Lost Island.
Lost Island. Choose your
Sounds like the same guy who does Wave Race, Ridge Racer, Hydro Thunder, RC to Go. It's always a very, very similarly minded announcer. And I love playing the Dreamcast version of Hydro Thunder on my Mini Classic, and we're going to be able to play it on here soon. Just watch. This has a little bit of a performance issue here, but I'm going to definitely try to tweak this game. You can definitely see it has a little bit of a shoddy performance drop here. So here we go. One of the first games I demonstrated that has performance issues.
time extended.
Okay. Turbo mode activate. And I do love the Dreamcast version. You know what I'd really love to be able to play? Some of the Hikaru games, such as Planet Harriers. I was so disappointed when they actually canceled that game for the Dreamcast because the system was fledgling at that point. It wasn't really feasible and marketable anymore, so they outright canceled the Planet Harriers games. But you can now emulate the game, and I'm definitely going to be showcasing that game in a future video. And I'm definitely going to be doing another Dreamcast video because there's going to be another performance upgrade for Sega Dreamcast with some new games that you're going to be able to run, and I'll show them. I mean, some really, really cool stuff. But great, great game. Hydro Thunder's running phenomenally, other than a few performance drops. We're going to do dummy folder method here. Load CD image. What else do we have? Heart of Darkness. The game that's a lot like a Dragon's Lair nowadays, and also similar to Out of This World in Another World. Game that I also showcased in my last video. Now, I love the fact that this game actually came with 3D glasses, and the ending to the game is entirely in the cyan magenta 3D, and it is incredibly awesome to behold. You should still be able to enjoy it today if you have them 3D glasses. And I'm going to be doing more videos on the multi-disc swapping for games like Heart of Darkness and, of course, Metal Gear Solid. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to have controls here, but we'll see. Okay, this has controls too. Awesome. So far, so good with the controls here. And again, I'm going to be doing more videos for the Mini NES and SNES as well as the PlayStation Classic. I'm not going to abandon the Mini NES and SNES as some people are afraid of. Even if the Sony PlayStation Classic seems to be the better system in the long run mod-wise, I'm still going to completely go out of my way to keep putting stuff out for the Mini NES and SNES for you guys and gals. There will be backwards compatibility. I promise you that. I love this game. One of the coolest games I've ever played. Okay. And it's kind of cool if you die a few times in a row. It actually gives you tips to help you pass the areas. But very, very cool game. And again, this is not the game I would recommend you play if you get frustrated easily, because you can literally die 500 to 1,000 times throughout the course of this game. It is ridiculously difficult. But like Dragon's Lair and Space Ace and games like that, you can, once you master it, you can probably beat it in 20 to 45 minutes. And because it is a lot of trial and error. And I love these Laserdisc style games, like on the original, obviously stuff like Philips CDI had a couple of them, and of course stuff like the original Laserdisc games, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace. I showcased those with the Daphne emulator. And many years ago, the Daphne emulator games were actually free. And then, of course, when Digital Leisure started putting out Dragon's Lair and such on there, then they were actually purchasable. You could actually legitimately buy Dragon's Lair and use them on the emulator with a key and such. Oh, great. Getting overwhelmed here. They definitely need to bring this game back. Come on now. This is such a cool game. And I'm probably going to do an entire playthrough of this game because it really gets awesome. Definitely one of my favorites. I got this and actually R-Types, the arcade versions of R-Type 1 and 2 on my PlayStation on the same day, and I played the hell out of both of these games. And if you ever played Super R-Type on Super Nintendo, you'll actually be thoroughly surprised to see that levels from R-Type 2 Arcade are actually in that game. And it's actually quite a bit slower on Super Nintendo. But great, great game here. Definitely worth checking out. And I'm about to get overwhelmed here again. We'll try see if there's any more games that we can load here since we're on a really high success rate here. Heart of Darkness. We have Gekido Urban Fighters. A fantastic side-scrolling brawler game, of which there are just simply not enough of nowadays. So we'll try this. And if I didn't know better, I wouldn't even think I'm on the PlayStation Classic again right now. I played the MiniNES and SNES so much that I still feel like I'm on it right now. But yes, I'm actually on the PlayStation Classic. I have a feeling I'm going to run into at least one game that doesn't boot into controls. But so far, every one that I've attempted has loaded. So I'm getting pretty good here, luck-wise. But essentially, they should all be able to use controls once we're all done with the modifications. And, of course, the tool to add games. If you have a little bit of data entry and coding experience, you'll be able to do it yourself, but we're going to try to make it user-friendly with an actual tool. Looks like we might have another game that works. And I've always been a big fan of this game. This is a very, very obscure title, just like RC2Go, that pretty much didn't really get much hoopla other than a little small subsection in video game magazines. But they did a fantastic Game Boy Advance version of this. I would try the Gekido on Game Boy Advance. It is a beautiful game. Looks very cartoony and artistic in nature. And I did showcase that in the previous video, but I'm going to have to definitely load it up again in the near future. And there's one PlayStation 1 game that I'm definitely going to have to try to load on here. The single worst PlayStation 1 game ever in all of existence. And it's actually a game so bad that they didn't even release it in the United States. And it got a rating of 0 out of 10. I'm talking about Cosmic Race. A game so bad, like Bad Mother Truckers, where you can actually go through environmental objects and such. Very, very cool game. And there's a nice, decent moveset here. And this is actually a game that I got down to roughly 40 megabytes in size because I ripped the music and videos out of it. I did this with a lot of the earlier PlayStation games on the MiniNES and SNES. And I still have my collection of these ripped games. And I would recommend, if you do take on this modification, to have at least a minimum of a 32 gigabyte flash drive. And right now I'm running FAT32, which might have SimLink issues, but we'll dig more into that in future videos and such. And when I do tutorial videos too. But again, you can ask me any question that you'd like to know, and I'll try to directly assist you as far as the modifications are concerned. And I will share safe scripts and such, and anything that you need within my core set updates. But yes, this is a great game here, and let's see if we can load another game or two before I close up shop here. Die Hard Trilogy, another on-rail shooter. Can't go wrong there. I love the combination of a racing game, a little bit of a True Lie style game, which was on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, as well as an on-rail shooter like Elemental Gearbolt, which I showed you. And there is a Die Hard Trilogy 2, which is not nearly as fun as this game. This is just an incredible game from beginning to end. I played it many, many times. If you do the racing mode in this game, it fits right in the context of my horse extravaganza videos, where it literally shows blood splattering all over your windshield when you're in 3D mode activate. But we'll try this for a quick moment. We're going to make this the final game. Because last Christmas, I actually played this game, and this is going to be the final game for this video. We can do Die Hard, Die Harder. Let's try Die Harder. I love the on-rail shooter aspect, and of course I'm going to do the... I'll do the mode where you drive and run into people and have the blood splatter everywhere, because I'm going to do a little bit of the blood horse extravaganza stuff going on here. I love this game. It's so cool. Let's blow up a taxi or two while we're here. Okay, it has a little bit of a performance issue. That again is due to the way the frame per second works. So I'm going to work into this as well. This is going to need a little bit of tweaking, obviously. So if you ever have any kind of black screen or flashing on the screen, it's due to a little bit of the frame per second and such. Might help if I reload. Okay, I'm going to actually see if I could do that one more time. Quit. I'll go to the other mode. So this game is going to need a little bit of tweaking. So right now, the two games that have issues that I'm noticing are, of course, Hydro Thunder, which has a performance drop, and this right here is a frame per second issue. So I'm going to work into both of these. But I'm still going to play this game. If you don't mind a little bit of glitching as far as the flashing is concerned. Obviously, if you have epilepsy or tendencies to epilepsy, I would not even recommend attempting to play this game. So forewarning for the flashing. Okay, we're going to go into 3D mode activate here and try to run over a couple people. See what happens. Come on, dude. Bam! Horror extravaganza, here we go. And how many of you remember playing Driver on PlayStation and not being able to do the tutorial mode, and as a result, you were just stuck in the tutorial mode endlessly? I hate games that keep you in the tutorial mode. But in any case, I'm going to exit back to the main menu here. And I'm going to show you what to do if you do have a problem with your system and you need to temporarily fix it. One of the things you can do is go to settings, and restore default settings is one thing you can try, but I would recommend initializing the console. That's one thing that you're going to be able to do to help you keep yourself from being soft-bricked as much. I mean, if you boot up the system and you see a settings menu and you're unable to get anywhere, just start pushing a few buttons, and you might be able to actually load a game without being able to see it loaded. And then once you're able to get to it, exit back to the main menu and then initialize your console just like this. And by the time you shut the system down and then pull the flash drive out and reboot, you should be okay to go again. But there's one other thing that I'm going to highly recommend you do here. And watch what I do here. This is very, very important. I would highly recommend this. See, right now I'm a little bit stuck right here. What I would recommend doing before you shut down your system, and this is very, very important until I tell you otherwise, is load one of the default. Hello everyone, this is a huge disclaimer to warn you about the inherent risk of modifying your PlayStation Classic. You could definitely run into a soft brick or an otherwise unbootable system. You might have trouble getting to the home user interface. Do not trust anything you read on the internet. Just make sure you fully trust someone before you try any of these modifications out. When I deem it safe, or myself and a few others in the scene deem it safe, then I will definitely make sure that you guys and gals know about this. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a je ne sais quoi about how it works. Remember, there's a very, very distinctive difference between modification and, of course, hacking. Hacking would typically be getting root access and sometimes doing soldering, crossing the wires, Ghostbuster style, putting your system at physical risk in order to be the better good as far as getting a modifiable system in the end. I mean, we have the kernel completely dumped now. But I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like right here. We have a drive here, which is modified to work with the PlayStation Classic. And once you modify and put the files you need, all you have to do is simply place this flash drive directly in your port 2 controller port on the PlayStation Classic. I mean, that's as easy as it is. And there will be a tool to make this easier in the very, very near future. But again, I wouldn't even attempt to do this unless you are welcome to the masochistic nature of potentially soft bricking your system, because if you completely get lost, you might have to wait because the bootloader is still taking a little bit of time to be able to be unconfuddled and such. But I'm going into a drive which has to be named Sony with caps. I have all the pertinent files that have to be here. Then I have my games and such, and the name of the hack is actually LOL hack, which is a play on an old exploit. Very, very funny joke, Mad Monkey. But I have these pertinent folders here, and I have my game design here. I even have a dummy folder, of which I do on the Mini NES and SNES. I mean, all my games are right here. I threw Barbie Explorer, which I did a joke video about before. Yes, you can do the dummy folder method. And when I do the core set update, which I'm still going to do for the Mini NES and SNES, I'm going to put it directly into the extras folder. And you're going to have a PlayStation Classic folder. You'll have an extras folder, a cheats folder. Yes, you can actually run cheats on there. You'll have the main modification. You'll have tools that you'll use. I have this disclaimer here, until I deem otherwise that you may stop break your system. And then you'll have a readme with the tutorial.